I haven't streamed in a month now because I no longer have a microphone, but I do have a new iPad. So there is a chance that by recording this voicemail, I'll see if it's good. And if the sound is passable and good enough, I'll make a voicemail for you. Today, I've been talking about Big Brother and the Holding Company. And this is the name of Janis Joplin's band. I've been finding Janice all the time when I do research this week. We're obviously going through a Janice cluster of love. The confusion that I see in a lot of people, whether it's when I look at Great Reset videos on YouTube or I read people's comments on Twitter, is that they wonder who controls the world. I look at things differently than everybody else, so I'll provide you with my assessment of who controls the world and what is going on right now. Because all of this is disclosed in a certain way in popular culture. Now, we don't have to believe brilliant people who worked hours and hours in order to craft songs and videos and movies to disclose things to us. We don't have to believe them. But if we do, we get to feel like things make sense. Because that's really the prize of doing the research that I've been doing for the last 3 years, is that things make sense. And it's kind of nice. It's just nice, to just like look at artists who speak through their work and make sense, rather than to try to understand what the people on television are trying to get us to believe and do. Because at this point, everything is so ludicrous, it's crazy. There are shepherds and there are farmers. So, shepherds are people who animate groups of fans. So, maybe you've noticed in the past 30 or 40 years that everything, at least in American popular culture, has been nicheified. There are little bubbles of very fanatic fans who follow celebrities that are more famous than God. So this is abject idolatry, which is being used, like to separate people. You can't really win against an enemy if they're in the middle of a million people. But if they're in the middle of 12 people, then they'll be easier to see. So small niches of people have been created, and it's kind of easy. You just take the 7 deadly sins and you make a TV channel with it, or 10 movies, and it's going to attract the people that it needs to attract. Regular people, or I would say like conservative, regular people who, like follow a traditional lifestyle, have been bombarded with shit media for 25 years. And I'm like, I feel so bad about this. I feel so very bad because this is the inevitable result of using a broadcast system. So the people who shepherd humanity, the holding company, the people who hold humanity, they use broadcast media in order to reach the people they need to reach. You don't actually know who the message comes from, and you don't actually know who the message is going out to. That's how broadcast works. It's a big number station. So everything that's on television that you've just loved about the past, from Batman to Superman to every single late night show, all of this is comms. Like it's a system to pass on comms and to register things into our permanent record. So it's a declaration and it's a disclosure if you listen for it. However, on top of this, there's a whole bunch of fun sketches and great jokes. So most people, they're just interested in the layer of lovemaking to humanity, because the very, very first job of a shepherd, or of a, like a, um, somebody who controls our minds, and educates us, is to be entertaining. If an artist doesn't make people laugh or doesn't make people happy, then they failed. If a movie, contains nothing of value, it's a failure. The clowns must first be super duper entertaining and get talked about. First of all, they have to make the sort of thing, the sort of special that is going to get people to talk about it the next day at work. So it has to be super entertaining first and foremost. Then the shepherds, they'll always tell you who is on the team. So they keep introducing these people and associating themselves with other people. This is all comms and disclosure. And then the next thing that they do is they either report on the past or tell you what's going to be coming in the future. They wrap all of this into funny sketches. Everything means something with clowns because they have so much stuff to report on. Imagine you're looking at an operation that didn't end after the Second World War. Like the people who were working on propaganda during World War II, they were pretending to have a whole bunch of tanks, like blow up tanks and fake jeeps. And they had sound systems that would confuse the hell out of Germans. It was like, where the heck are they? Or they're everywhere. So I think like Hitler said once that the Americans were winning the war because they had the ability to produce video and films to train everybody like unbelievably fast. Yeah, because Ronald Reagan was at the helming a crew of a whole bunch of Hollywood actors who were producing internal training videos like crazy. So what do you think these people did after the war? The comedy people, they went to make Technicolor movies. So they were really like, they needed to motivate the future, technological breakthrough. The U.S. Army has always been there to operate an immense number station that publishes everything in the clear. I'm talking about the Ghost Army here, and there is a book where the first few chapters are available in Google. I talk about this book a lot. It opened my eyes because, like it'll lighten you up about what it is that the Ghost Army does. The people who are in the Ghost Army, they're just like excellent at what they do, what we see them do. But on top of that, they're like magicians. And they're like kind of amazing because the clowns, the actors like Marilyn Monroe, like Dean Martin, they have a shtick going. What they're doing is really weaponized, and it was arrived at with consulting with a team. Their job is to be shepherds. They are meant to amass a group of fans and steer this group, so that it pays attention to the right things, or it learns interesting stuff, or it is entertained. So entertainment is the first, the first goal. Because the clowns, they make light of everything. So they take all the shit and then they make light of it. See, they turn the light on. They upkeep the light. If it wasn't for them, who would be making jokes? Like, I think that Earth has a functional light problem. Sometimes I say we're trying to win against the darkness, but look, I think that Earth has had in the past, at least from 1850 to 1950, a lack of light. Because every single person that is producing humor, funny things, and silly stuff, they all come from this group of people that originates with P.T. Barnum that eventually went into the army psychological warfare and became the Ghost Army. They functionally keep the lights on in people. That's a really amazing thing to realize. And over the last 5 years, all of these clowns, they've been giving their time exclusively to managing the darkest people in society and steering them across time. Because they use a broadcast technology, all of this content was just meant for Turkestan. It's just meant for dark people to yank their chains. It's meant for slaves to get yanked via the chain. If you don't have a chain, you're just gonna look at Stephen Colbert make stupid jokes and be like, wait a second, that joke isn't funny, and it's also not based on something that's true. Where has humor gone? So I feel really bad that all of this content over the last 5 years that's really shit has been seen by everybody and has made everybody sad and stressed out. The absolute contrast that is being vehiculated by television is kind of like late stage and desperate. But you have to understand, the pharma industry produces the content that goes in between their ads. So you get what you pay for. This is broadcast technology. It's weaponized for a certain group of people, but everybody sees it because it's on mainstream media. And that's sad to me. I want to invite people to look away because they're not going to miss anything. And it really focus on the practical things that need to happen. Yeah, I stopped watching The Shepherds. I stopped watching The Shepherds 3 years ago. Was it three? No, 2 years ago. So all the people who promise you that something's going to happen in the future, or that, you need to worry about this thing today, I stopped watching them. Who needs that? I don't feel that I have missed anything in the past 2 years. I'm telling you. However, my inflammation has gone down, and so all of my health issues went away. Because I think that up to a point, if you watch terrible television, you will develop health issues. I mean, I'm not even kidding. So, anyhow, I haven't watched TV shows or movies, except maybe like a few a year, in such a long time. So I wind up thinking about the stuff that I watch way too much. I'm still thinking about Tenet. I seen that 2 years ago, I think. So anyhow, so you have shepherds. We'll get into what they do or what their technology is later on. Then you have farmers. So farmers, they're the ones that put a price on humanity and harvest it. A farmer, usually like a corporate person, can only look at you as, like a product. So people like they it's really interesting because they have relationships with brands and they give a lot of money to their brands, but they don't realize they're the product. They become the product of this brand because now they have the logo on them of the brand. Like it's a completely convoluted relationship that I find fascinating. The farmers, they are the ones that, like touch your body or go into your body. But they can't like convince, they don't have a face or a mouth, you know. All that they can do maybe is put their soap in a cute bottle and you'll be attracted to it. But for the most part, they are the ones that hire the shepherds, that pay money for the shepherds to sing a song about them, so you'll buy their product. So there is a symbiotic relationship between the farmers and the shepherds. But in between the two, who do you think really controls the world? Functionally speaking, it is the farmers because it is all the companies in the world that touch the human body. That might just as well be all of them. And they have the ability to give a certain impression to people. Like the company could, because they could fail systematically, and seem like something else is going on. Like companies have a lot of power to make us think that something is going on that isn't. But the news is all staffed with shepherds. There's a war going on between the shepherds and their slaveholder, which are the farmers. There's they like the shepherds have let themselves be enslaved by the farmer so that they can let the farmer down. So that they become the only friend of the farmer. So in this moment, there's a war going on because the farmers just realized that it's been swindled by the shepherds. And it's not because the concept of a company is bad, by the way. It's just that a company is an eternal, unkillable trench coat with 1,000 lawyers in it. Like, this is a monster. It can't end well. Put AI in there and we're all dead. And so a company, like I said, can only see us as a harvestable resource. And that's the only relationship they have with us. And they use puppets, to make us think they're real people. And we live in a moment where this is breaking. Like it's not working anymore, this thing. Shepherds versus farmers, they seem to be at war right now. The shepherds are letting down the farmers. That's what I see going on. And it makes sense, like because you'll see it now, but consider failure as a tactic. Like we're surrounded by people who are failing. Like for instance, what if you are a supervillain and you saw that the Department of Energy in the United States has this high placed, like queer person who trains human puppies. That's their new like assistant, like strategist or something. If you are like a supervillain that's into freaks who own other people, This is the person for you. Like, this person is a pink lady. This person is insanely attractive to supervillains. So then, what if supervillains went to this person and made a deal? This person who is now in court failed by stealing luggage from someone else at an airport twice. Not once, twice. It's on video, so I feel secure not saying allegedly. So you have a clown, a bona fide clown, who had a very strategic position in the most secure department in the United States, the Department of Energy that takes care of nuclear material. Those people, like, they failed. They let down all the people they had contacts with outside of the Department of Energy. See? And so this is an example. Now you'll see it. See failure as a strategy. You're dealing with a clown. How they express it is their own choice. But you can see it. You know it now, right? And it will involve the number 2, because the Ghost Army does things twice. So, what is the Ghost Army? Well, the Ghost Army is the service of the United States Army, which is a post World War II allies project. It's an international project that I'm telling you about right now. Every position of import where you could put a clown has been filled with a clown. Absolutely none of these people are secretive about being a clown, because they don't have to. The people who know who they are know who they are, and they know they are on notice, but they keep warmongering because that's the only thing they can do to access the future. Every position of influence and import in the world is being held by a clown. This is a person who is, at most, a cousin of all the other people who are in positions of power. Would you go to war with your cousin? No. So placing people who are for the most part, half siblings, by the way, in all positions of power in the world prevents World War III. So we're still in the Cold War. We're still trying to get all the warmongers to come out and raise their hands. We're still trying to exhaust all of them. All the warmongers, including your neighbor, who's just like strangely aggressive about everything. Like, he's getting, like, activated and worked out with all this stuff as well. This is because it's broadcast technology, it's going to everybody. So it winds up affecting different layers of people, different layers of society differently. So I said the world leaders. Also, all the military people are related. All the anchor people on television, all of the news heads that are heard today are related. And beyond that, like, there's thousands of people at this point doing this psy-war on us. They form an umbrella over us. They're holding us into a reality. that they created for us. We are witnessing the apocalypse circus, where we think that where we are going through the process of learning everything that was hidden. So we are getting to know everything that was hidden so that all that was hidden will be known, which is the definition of apocalypse. So all the people that we see, even the ones that we hate, like Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell, they're all soldiers of the Ghost Army. And they're all out in front because they don't want us to see, like, they don't want to ruin the surprise about what's behind them. You know, like they're protecting us from knowing about what's beyond them. Who are their friends? The people we'll never see, but that they know. So there's tons of celebrities that have been sent into the darkness or out there, you know, to make as many friends as possible and find all the warmongers. And also the people who trade in humans. People who consume human byproducts is what I mean. So that's a problem. This invariably leads to the end of civilization. So let's call them all warmongers. Because they need to cause war. It makes them money. It displaces people, so a whole bunch of them can just vanish without nobody knowing. And of course, it causes chaos and prevents people from working. So I think that right now we're being attacked simply because, you know, like they desperately want to create chaos so that we are unable to pursue our work of following the money and acting upon all of which that was hidden, which is now known. So yeah, so we're very much at this point where we have to, you know, like fight back, meaning not put up with bullshit anymore because it's serious. You can't let the people who are not serious, you know, like lead things anymore. If there's absolutely nothing beyond what they say, after years of the biggest crybabies out there being wrong all the time, like we have to stop putting up with it. Like these people are not serious. The people who know nothing except that the people who don't agree with them are evil. So these people are on the partisanship. The partisanship is going to sink at some point because it's like a reverse Ark of Noah. Partisans are the most dangerous people in the world. And we're moving into a new Spanish Inquisition because there are actually people who have a platform on Twitter who are calling for discord in marriages where one person is a Democrat and the other is a Republican. You know, it's this whole MAGA Republican inquisition that is going on right now, which makes no sense. It makes no sense to anybody who has, you know, had consciousness about our life after 1987. Like, after 1987, things are bullshit. But before 1987, like, people didn't freaking care about the political leanings of other people. We just didn't talk about this stuff. But we've been swindled because before 1987, you got soap operas from the soap operas. You know, like the corporations, they can put the soap inside a cute bottle and you'll like it. But also they used to make soap operas. So it's like these drama shows every day that I used to watch a lot of soap operas when I was younger. I loved it. I even had a website about As the World Turns that got tens of thousands of visitors every month, and it was that was in 1998, so that was a long time ago. The soap operas allow the companies to measure what topics they can use in order to manipulate housewives. And so that worked really well for soap companies. Yeah, and so with this knowledge, then the media, the news media, started using politicians and cast them in these dramatic roles to manipulate housewives. And so we're still in this world where we don't have soap operas anymore, but we do have all the politicians in the United States that are in front, that they are playing out the same soap operas in the past. You know, they're the ones that are the soap opera actors today. And what's interesting is that they are free. They are free soap opera actors. You can use they're public figures. They're elected officials. So you can say whatever you want about them. So you can cast them in whatever role you want in your narrative on your platform, and they can't do anything about it. So this is the swindle, you know, that people have been getting. The best clowns, you know, like, oh, how you recognize a clown? Well, everybody that's visible is a clown, but the most important ones are the ones who embrace and tell you every day they're a clown. So a clown will be like a front-facing figure in an industry who is always fawned upon or the topic of controversy in the media. They for sure have had many covers on magazines, and they are always chiming in on the current events. So, a person like, let's say, Richard Branson is a clown because he ticks all the boxes I just told you about. And Richard Branson's clown, you know, aside from being a clown, you know, which is a figurehead in our culture, he also is involved in a whole bunch of businesses. Richard Branson is functionally responsible for pushing technology. That's his philanthropy in the world. It's not the other things that he does. I used to have this little terminal that was a Virgin terminal for internet. Like he had these things developed and distributed it, and this thing completely failed. Like, but he developed this tiny little terminal, so he created like an expectation. So all of the people who are involved in doing a whole bunch of technologies, whether or not they succeed or not, they're motivating the future. So Richard Branson is a lot like Elon Musk as well, who has the same sort of profile as a clown. Richard Branson went to visit Zelensky, you know, in Ukraine. And we saw this. There was like a photo op and they were talking to each other and blah, blah, blah. Now, Zelensky is someone who does not hide the fact that he's a clown. He comes from the world of comedy. This is always the way it was supposed to be, that comedians like Jon Stewart, you know, like would become more trusted than the news media, even though they tell jokes about the news, and eventually rise and become the leader of a country. Or, you know, like in the United States, it's more like Stephen Colbert. He's not the president, but everybody watches him. So it's kind of like the same thing. So all of these clowns, you know, get to a point where everybody's watching them. And so they have the ability to say something or do something that is going to be seen by everybody. And this is the essence of broadcast technology. The power of a clown is, they're all on the same level behind the scenes, I want to tell you, but the true power of a clown, or his flex, you know, is the amount of people they can reach in a moment, at a moment's notice. And so the truly amazing mesmerizer and powerful clowns are the ones that have a huge social media following, and and everybody looks at. A clown is a shepherd, again. Do greater things because Jesus asked, All the clowns, they're trying to do the greatest stuff and deploy the greatest things because Jesus said, "Those who believe in me will do greater things." There are certain people in the world that take this to heart. They don't just think, "Oh, Jesus died for my sin of being a fucking loser." No, they work to be successful. Even if they fail, they're still pushing forward the future. They're still helping us attain the future. So yes, it's kind of hard to, like, when I listen, people today, they have no they don't have the sense of what it takes to do something great, because all the films on television, they're like, it's superhero movies, right? So nothing is real in there. It's not like, like engineering it's not like a movie, let's say, about laying the transcontinental telegraph line, like that's high action, but it's based on something. Whereas the superhero movies, they're not based on anything that a regular person could attain or could relate to. So that's why I think that we kind of live in this endless time where nothing is new, nothing is going on. Everything is kind of the same stuff again and again. It's sad. The clowns are doing greater things and they use technologies as well. So we no longer talk about much about hypnosis and mesmerism. The clowns don't, the clowns who are shepherds, they don't touch your body. They're supposed to touch your heart or your brain, connect with you on a psychological or emotional level. And so their skills come from mesmerism. And what clowns do is that they're not gonna lie to you. They know how to give you the impression that will make you do the rest of the story in your head, because they're helping you do stuff because it's your own idea. If you're listening to a clown and the clown seems like they're lying and that they're being very explicit and they're telling you what to think and what to do, they're actually talking to the dead. They're talking to people who are brain dead. But if they're making love to you and they are entertaining you, who is not a dead person, what is interesting is that they'll be able to give you the an impression, and you will make up in your own mind exactly the story that you need to make. So you'll have a personalized version of the story that is meant to connect with you even more. It's kind of magical. I often talk about 17 technology magic. Now, what I'm about to tell you is my own personal definition of this psychological warfare tactic, which I see all the time. And in order for this to work, the world has to be a certain way. So I can't really give you a bachelor's degree on how you get the world to be exactly the right way so that this works. But anyhow, after I tell you about this, you'll see it. You'll see it everywhere, every day. So this is how when it stops working, when you know about it. Okay. So 17 technology magic is 1 and 7. These are two numbers that represent two different things. To simplify how we are controlled on Earth at an extraplanetary level, I will simply say that we are profoundly beloved and managed and held lovingly by Venus and by Mars. You know why? Because they're the two planets on either side of us. Yay! That's my explanation. I'll stick to it. It's simple, it makes sense. At a higher degree of consciousness, 6, 7, 8, 9. These planets are something else. Like they represent something else, and they have something to say in how we are managed here on Earth. And so that's what I mean when I say that we are lovingly held by Mars and Venus. So there's a whole bunch of inside jokes on Earth that have been that are part of our culture. So I'll use these in order to explain what 17 technology magic is. So we have 1, we have 7. Let's meet 1. 1 looks like a sword. Woohoo! It's Mars. He's the god of war. And he's a guy. He's a sexy guy. And he's a reasonable guy. He likes to tell everybody he's very reasonable. But, as you know, men are from Mars. So, on the other side, you have 7. 7 is Venus. It is the goddess of love. Venus is very romantic. She's the one that thinks Mars is kind of a mansplainer. And she kind of naturally spars with him, whenever something stressful happens. Women are from Venus. Now, I don't mean to limit these two personality types by their gender, because humans are able to do the entire spectrum of gender. It's just that we tend to associate certain aspects with men or women. But if you look at the whole men are from Mars, women are from Venus trope, which dates from the 80s, you'll notice that there's a lot of truth in it, and that we can count on this. So the clowns count on the natural separation of humanity between two groups, the reasonables and the romantics. So all the times the clowns will look at, let's say, a flock of fans, like a fandom, and they will, and a fandom, a community, a group of people, a group of sheep will naturally attract werewolves in sheep's clothing. And these are people who wreak havoc in a group. They come into a group, they abuse the fandom of the group, and in order to hurt the fans. So I use the word fan because it's kind of easy to conceptualize fandoms, because that's where there's a whole bunch of drama that happens. So in order to precede this, to discover who the werewolves in sheep's clothing are inside an established group that is shepherded by someone, the shepherd will get together with somebody they love to pretend to hate each other, like to do a divisive psyop, a divide and conquer. See, you already have a name for this technology, divide and conquer. So the two people that get together to do this to the group have to be related functionally and registered and declared as actors of polemics, contrast partners. So for instance, Marilyn Monroe's contrast partner was Hugh Hefner, because they were elected at the same time. So they were meant to spar, never be seen together, and spar low-key. And so what's going to happen to the group is that they're going to naturally separate. The reasonable people are going to be on the one side, the romantic people are going to be on the other side, and they'll be like functionally arguing with each other about the polemic that has just been thrown at them. If you go back in history, you'll notice that these polemics are not stupid. It's usually stuff that needs to be addressed, that needs to lead to advancement. So you have your polemic and you have your two sides that are bickering. Like these people are always fighting, but they're basically on the same side. Like they realize pretty quick that they kind of agree. They're just like different kinds of people, so they think that they disagree sometimes. But they'll notice that there's people in the group who didn't separate. They're just like in the middle there and they don't know what to do. They don't understand what's going on. You have the reasonable people, you have the loving people. And then in the middle, what is left are your unreasonably hateful people. There are people who just like cannot get the love situation, and they're not reasonable either. All that they can do is freak out, when this happens. And so they become very visible to the rest of the group. And if the polemic is well calibrated, people will bicker over this for a few days. It will go away, but everybody knows who the unreasonably hateful people are in their group. And it is always hoped that they will evict these people or they will deal with them, by themselves. However, often when divide and conquer psyops are done using the media, it's really to go after a criminal element in a group. And so like a low-key way to get everybody to identify who you need to remove from the group and deal with. So a lot of law enforcement in the last 7 years has been done by panicking groups of people using the media. That's why everything is so stressful today, because every single thing that we see in the media is like aimed at making people terrified and panicked. The problem with the United States is that the politicians, they're soap opera actors who are profoundly corrupt. And people know this, but I don't know, like, it's people have everything that they need in the United States in order to follow the money and, like, hold people accountable. So what did I want else could I tell you about the shepherds versus the farmers? I like to joke that in the real Genesis of the real Bible, it starts with Old MacDonald had a farm. Hi-E-I-O. Because it basically feels like that's what the situation we're in. Like humanity is oppressed, but yeah, humanity is oppressed by the force of the corporation that wants to control everything. But like us, our body physically, like they're at the point now where they need to clamp down on us. Why? Like, stay away. Leave me alone. I understand what this psychological psyop is, though, because the stuff I'm going to tell you is very functional. God wants to know how you really feel. So if you pray and you tell God how you really feel, that's awesome. But most people don't do that. So in order for God to know how people really feel, we got 2D. We got to incarnate into 2D, the 2 dimension, where people tell other people how they really feel. This is a really wonderful thing. So now we know what people think. We are all able to witness libs of TikTok. It is really funny how none of this could have been possible 5 years ago. It took a Chinese company that needs to acquire the personal information of as many Americans as possible in order to cause the dumbest people in the United States to use TikTok to tell us how they really feel. And I don't even use TikTok. I've seen some TikToks because people always refer to them. But it's really astonishing. Americans have delivered themselves to a foreign company in order to have all of their time stolen by this app. that perma-scrolls. Apparently, well, the content on TikTok seems to be really lowbrow. So, but the algorithm is excellent at being able to keep people perma scrolling for the longest time. So, perma scroll is actually the devil. You know, if you turn your phone around, it's a bitten apple. So you've already accepted the bitten apple from the snake. It's your phone. But the true devil is the perma scroll because that's what steals your time. And your time is the most precious thing that you have. Your time and your unique point of view. Those are the two things that are most precious in life. But your unique point of view is precious to God, but like it should be precious to your friends as well. Like I personally really appreciate the fact that there are people out there who have their own opinion and it's different than mine. Most people I meet don't have their own opinion. They just keep up with the leaderboard of acceptable public opinions that is posted somewhere, but I don't keep up with it. I don't care. So, yeah, this is perhaps why I don't go out anymore because I don't know what people are afraid of right now, so I can't relate to them. So, what else can I tell you about 17 technology magic? It really is to expose the partisan. It's all based on black versus white contrast. So right now, all the people who are leading the circus are harping on intense contrast. And partisans are people who don't use their brain. They don't need to. They already know that they're right and you're evil. So they don't need to listen to you. They know. They get told all the time that the side they chose is where the good people are. And the other side is the evil people. And they're completely incensed because you must also know this, that they're the right and that the other side is wrong, but yet you choose to remain on the wrong side, even though you've been told that the other side is where the good people are. So, of course, you're evil and stupid to them. So, this partisan person has been used over the last 5 years in order to make things real. So negative Donald Trump information is fed to these people and they run around and they say Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump. So the haters, like the people who are on the good side and where Trump is on the evil side, the haters, they make things real for everybody else. So they've been occupied with a new negative Trump scandal every single day for the last 2,806 days. That's a lot of days. The person who is partisan doesn't really watch the things they love. They hate watch things. So they'll hate read articles about Donald Trump and then take the information to other people. If the media was trying to make them love Donald Trump, they'd never take the message to other people. Even if they didn't care or they liked Donald Trump even, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. However, the hater will take the information wide very fast. So if you speak to people who hate watch, Donald Trump has been making the haters useful over the last 5 years. because and he thanks them. That's why he's kind of started by thanking the haters, because he knows that they're part of carrying his message everywhere. He, he's the greatest supervillain that ever lived, and he could not be this, without the help of the haters. So the media tells them that Donald Trump is the greatest supervillain in the world. They believe it, and they think that the media is their friend. So the media is now the friend of the haters, and so the media can tell the haters to do whatever they want. See, that's how they filled the reverse arc of Noah with all the partisan people who are dangerous for society. The partisanship is a reverse arc of Noah. It's for the people we don't need, the useless hater. Technologically speaking, it is possible to make a useless hater from a useless eater. You just like change the little tabs in the E of eaters and you get haters. Haha, Hugh Hefner punked you. Because it's like a code, this useless eater thing. The New World Order is a scam. Like the Georgia Guidestones, which were installed in March 1980 by Hugh Hefner. The first statement on the Georgia Guidestones is to reduce the population to, I think it's 500 million people. And then all the other stuff is like pablum, it makes sense. But in order to reduce the population to the number that is written there from 8 billion, it means there has to be a dynamic event or series of events in the world that would hurt humanity significantly. It would mean that our environment would become unlivable. The thing is that I'm not even sure that 500 million people is a sustainable number even then. We would probably die soon enough. So so the people who want to rule the future, they were starting in 1980, they were absorbed and their attention was gathered by a group of actors and clowns who operate under this banner of New World Order. And so they started using, there's the conspiracy theory books, which are all written by children of U.S. Army generals, which give people the vocabulary, the slogans, and the logos to go along with this conspiracy theory. And so this creates a culture that makes it easier for people to talk about their desire to be in the ruling class once the New World Order is realized. But in order to be in this future ruling class, they need to sign on to the plan to decimate humanity. So this is where somebody who does intel gathering for the Department of Defense, like Hugh Hefner, this is where he comes in. And he organized schmuck dinners, that served many purposes. These were vetting dinners for the military-industrial complex. They were socials, and all that stuff. But at these dinners, people just chat with celebrities. It's like you have 50% of 50% of the people who are there are, like these famous celebrities. And then 50%, the 50 other percent are all schmucks. They're people who have no clue. They think they're joining a cult. They think they are participating in a whole bunch of schemes, but that will eventually mean that they will be the leader of the future, somehow. That they're the chosen ones and all that stuff. So there's a ton of psyops that fall in to this whole schmuck dinner thing. But it's basically just like a series of super attractive social events that allow a group of people who are trained security professionals to exercise their role as friends. You know, like the most delightful people you ever met. You Hefner deployed a lot of these people. They're not all playmates with big ears that are listening to you. No, there's like a whole bunch of really awesome members of popular culture who are very talented in their own rights, and they're writers, filmmakers, actors, clowns, entrepreneurs, and a whole bunch of other personalities, you know. Um, yeah, and even like Hugh Hefner started his magazine in 1953 with the following phrase: I will become Alfred Kingsley's pamphleteer. Yeah, he actually wrote that in the first Playboy. So yeah, he was meant to deploy a whole bunch of really interesting people. He completely reorganized American culture. That was his job, to reorganize American culture. That was actually his job. And then he also was managing the procreation program of Plus Ultra, which is what I disclose on my feed, where I go through, like I disclose what the DNA providers of all the clowns are, because we're all registered in a database. We're all made on purpose. So we're announced by our DNA parents on the day that we're conceived in the public record. So I try to teach people how to do this work and be able to answer their own questions about the past, because the way in which we've all been deployed, like our schedule and all that, once you know it, it tells you about the greater soap opera of Earth. Like at a planetary level, the stuff that's going on is astounding. It's unbelievable. It is, and it is interestingly transcribed rather faithfully in the popular culture of the 20th century and 21st century, because there's so much disclosure that has gone on in the last 20 years. Like after Batman Begins by Christopher Nolan, the Batman that starred the Batmobile. I love that film because of the Batmobile. Christopher Nolan started putting out a whole bunch of things which are very functional disclosures about the way that the universe works. And I love it. I just love it that it's there, that eventually I'll be able to refer to it when I need to explain certain concepts. And so, yeah, so that's how I will close my voicemail today about the topics that I've been discussing recently on my Twitter. I'm Marie-Lynn, and I hope you have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.